I've always been an introvert and a homebody. From as early as I can remember, staying home was my favorite thing to do. As a child, I loved reading books, watching movies, playing with toys, and creating things in my own little world. I'd spend hours cleaning and organizing my room, not because I had to, but because it made me happy to make my space just right. But growing up, my love for staying home was often misunderstood. My family, my parents, and even my grandparents couldn't quite grasp it. They thought my preference for quiet and solitude meant I was reclusive or something was wrong with me. When I was young, they'd often insist that I go do something outside, as though my hobbies weren't good enough or I wasn't making the most of my time. One memory in particular stands out. I was under the age of 10, growing up in Miami in the 1970s, when my family decided I needed to socialize more. Their solution? Sending me out into the neighborhood to knock on strangers' doors and ask if they had kids I could play with. It was degrading. Humiliating, even. I didn't want to go knocking on doors, seeking out playmates like some sort of door-to-door solicitor of friendship. But I didn't have a choice. It was what my family thought was best for me. They didn't understand that I was perfectly happy where I was, doing what I loved, in the comfort of my own space. That experience left a lasting impression on me. It gave me a deep personal awareness of what others like me, introverted homebodies, deal with on a daily basis. Our love of solitude and quiet isn't always understood or accepted by a world that prioritizes constant activity, socialization, and extroversion. As an adult, this misunderstanding hasn't gone away entirely. My partner and friends sometimes struggle to understand why I'd rather spend a Friday night curled up with a book or rearranging furniture than going out on the town. But what's often overlooked is that introversion, and by extension, being a homebody, is not about shyness, timidity, or a lack of ability. Although some introverts may also be shy, shyness isn't a quality that's exclusive to introverts. As a professional, I speak in front of large groups regularly, attend book signings, lecture to audiences, and engage in the necessary social activities that life and work require. I take care of personal errands, go shopping, and attend public events when needed. Introversion isn't about avoiding these situations, it's about how we process and respond to them. Introverts thrive in quieter, more reflective environments where their energy isn't drained by constant stimulation. It's not that we can't engage in social or outward-facing activities, we absolutely can, and many of us excel at it. It's just that these activities don't replenish us. Instead, they require a level of energy management that extroverts may not need to think about. For me, and for many others like me, home is the place where I can recharge, think, create, and simply be myself. This article is for anyone who identifies with that feeling. It's for those who have been called reclusive or told to get out more, even when they're perfectly content with the life they've built. Let's explore why being an introverted homebody is not just okay, but something to celebrate. We'll dive into the intersection of personality and lifestyle, debunk myths, and offer ways to embrace this quiet but deeply meaningful way of living. Personality versus lifestyle, where they overlap. To understand what it means to be an introverted homebody, it's helpful to separate the two concepts, personality and lifestyle. While they often intersect, they're not the same thing. Introversion is a personality trait, a natural way of processing the world, while being a homebody is a lifestyle choice, a way of structuring your daily life around what brings you joy and comfort. Let's unpack the relationship between these two ideas. Introversion as personality. Introversion isn't a preference, it's a fundamental part of how some people experience and recharge in the world. Introverts thrive in quieter, less stimulating environments where they can focus inward, reflect, and engage deeply with ideas or activities. This doesn't mean they dislike people or avoid social situations. Rather, socializing often requires a level of energy that introverts need to carefully manage. Contrary to popular belief, introversion has nothing to do with shyness or timidity. Shyness, for example, is characterized by a fear of judgment or social discomfort, while introversion is simply about how a person recharges and where they derive their energy. Many introverts, myself included, are perfectly comfortable speaking to large groups, attending events, or networking when the situation calls for it. The difference is that these activities can feel draining rather than invigorating. Afterward, we need solitude to replenish and refocus. This is where the misunderstanding often begins. Extroverts who feel energized by social interaction may view introverts' need for downtime as avoidance or disinterest. The truth is, introverts can be deeply social and enjoy meaningful relationships, but they prioritize quality over quantity when it comes to interaction. Homebody as lifestyle. Being a homebody is a conscious choice, one that reflects how you want to live day to day. For some, home is a place of safety and control, where routines and surroundings are carefully curated to reflect their personality. It's where hobbies, creativity, and self-expression flourish, free from outside distractions. You don't have to be an introvert to enjoy a homebody lifestyle. Many extroverts also cherish their time at home, using it as a hub for hosting friends, pursuing passions, or decompressing after a busy day. For introverts, however, the homebody lifestyle often feels like a natural extension of their personality. The quiet, reflective environment aligns perfectly with their need to recharge and focus inward. This overlap is what makes the introverted homebody lifestyle so fulfilling. For those who find joy in solitude and thrive in their personal space, staying home isn't an escape from life, it's where life truly happens. It's where creativity, peace, and fulfillment are cultivated, away from the overstimulation of the outside world. Not always connected. While the connection between introversion and a homebody lifestyle seems intuitive, it's important to recognize that the two don't always go hand in hand. Not all introverts are homebodies, and not all homebodies are introverts. Some introverts love exploring new places or engaging in one-on-one social outings, while some homebodies are extroverted, finding joy in hosting small gatherings or building vibrant online communities from the comfort of their space. What ties these identities together isn't a set of rigid characteristics, but a shared commitment to living authentically. Whether you're an introvert, a homebody, or both, the key is to embrace what makes you feel balanced and fulfilled, even if others don't always understand it. Why the homebody lifestyle is a choice, not a limitation. One of the most common misconceptions about being a homebody is that it's a limitation, a result of fear, laziness, or a lack of ambition. For introverted homebodies, this couldn't be further from the truth. Choosing a home-centered lifestyle isn't about avoiding the outside world. It's about intentionally creating a space where we feel at peace, productive, and authentically ourselves. Reframing the narrative. In a world that often prioritizes extroversion, constant activity, and social connection, the homebody lifestyle can sometimes be misunderstood. Society tends to associate happiness and success with being outgoing, adventurous, and always on the move. As a result, those who prefer the quiet comforts of home are often labeled as boring, unsocial, or even stuck. But the reality is that being a homebody is an intentional choice, a lifestyle centered on finding joy and fulfillment in the familiar. It's about appreciating the beauty of simplicity and valuing the quiet moments that allow for creativity, reflection, and growth. Far from being a limitation, this lifestyle is an act of self-awareness. It's recognizing what makes you feel most alive and building your life around it. A modern appeal. In today's world, the homebody lifestyle is more appealing than ever. The rise of remote work, digital entertainment, and the ability to connect with others online has made it easier to embrace home as the center of life. People are increasingly recognizing the value of slowing down, creating cozy spaces, and focusing on what truly matters. For introverted homebodies, this shift feels like a natural validation of a lifestyle we've been practicing all along. We've long known the value of staying in, whether it's curling up with a book, experimenting with a new recipe, or simply enjoying the calm of a tidy space. What others might view as mundane, we see as restorative and meaningful. A space for creativity and purpose. Choosing to center your life at home doesn't mean you're uninspired or unproductive. It's often quite the opposite. For many introverted homebodies, home is where creativity and purpose thrive. It's where we find the mental space to write, create art, pursue hobbies, or even build businesses. The homebody lifestyle allows us to focus deeply on what we care about without the distractions and overstimulation of the outside world. This is where our best ideas take shape, where we can explore our passions freely and recharge to face the demands of life. Rejecting the pressure to conform. Living as an introverted homebody requires rejecting the societal pressure to conform to extroverted ideals. It's about being unapologetically yourself, even if that means skipping the party to spend the evening with a favorite book or declining a weekend getaway to enjoy the peace of your own backyard. This isn't to say that homebodies don't value connection or adventure. We do, but on our own terms. The beauty of this lifestyle is that it's not about avoiding the world but rather engaging with it in ways that feel authentic and energizing. Myths about introverts and homebodies. Despite growing awareness about introversion, myths about introverts, and especially introverted homebodies, persist. These misconceptions can lead to misunderstanding and even judgment, both from extroverts and from a society that often equates happiness with being outgoing and active. It's time to set the record straight and dismantle these stereotypes. The shy and timid misconception. One of the most enduring myths about introverts is that we're shy or timid. While it's true that some introverts might also be shy, the two traits are not synonymous. Shyness often stems from a fear of judgment or social discomfort, whereas introversion is simply about where you draw your energy. Many introverts, myself included, are perfectly capable of navigating social situations with confidence. I speak in front of large groups as part of my profession, attend book signings and lecture to audiences without hesitation. I can handle errands, appointments, and even busy public spaces when necessary. The difference is that these activities, while manageable, don't energize me, they deplete me. Afterward, I need time in solitude to recharge. This isn't avoidance or timidity, it's self-awareness. Introverts know their limits and manage their energy accordingly. It's an intentional and adaptive approach to life, not a sign of weakness. The antisocial label. Another common misconception is that introverts, especially homebodies, are antisocial or don't like people. This couldn't be further from the truth. We value relationships deeply, so much so that we often prefer smaller, more meaningful interactions over large, surface-level social gatherings. For an introverted homebody, a quiet dinner with a close friend or a phone call with someone we care about is far more fulfilling than a night out with acquaintances. It's not that we're avoiding connection, we're simply prioritizing quality over quantity. The unambitious stereotype. Some people mistake an introverted homebody's preference for solitude as a lack of ambition or drive. This couldn't be more inaccurate. For many of us, home is not just a place of comfort, but a hub of creativity and productivity. In the quiet of our own space, we have the freedom to think deeply, plan intentionally, and pursue our goals without distraction. From writing to creating art, building businesses, or developing skills, homebodies often channel their energy into meaningful projects. Ambition takes many forms, and for introverted homebodies it often thrives in solitude. Cultural bias toward extroversion. These myths are rooted, in part, in a cultural bias toward extroverted traits. Western culture, in particular, tends to value outgoing, high-energy behavior as the standard for success and happiness. This bias can make it challenging for introverts and homebodies to feel validated in their choices. But introverts bring something equally valuable to the table: depth, thoughtfulness, and the ability to connect meaningfully with others. The homebody lifestyle, when paired with introversion, allows these qualities to flourish. It's not a rejection of societal norms, but an alternative way of living that prioritizes authenticity and personal well-being. By breaking down these myths, we can begin to shift the narrative around introverted homebodies. It's time to move beyond stereotypes and celebrate the diversity of personalities and lifestyles that make us who we are. The comfort of home, a sanctuary for growth. For introverted homebodies, home is much more than a physical space, it's a sanctuary. It's the one place where the pressures of the outside world fade, where overstimulation gives way to peace, and where creativity and growth thrive. Far from being a place to retreat from life, home is where life truly happens for those of us who flourish in solitude. There's something uniquely grounding about being in a space that's completely yours. For introverted homebodies, the familiar sights, sounds, and rhythms of home create an environment where we can recharge and focus. It's a place of comfort, control, and authenticity. A space where we can be ourselves without the distractions or demands of external expectations. This isn't just about introversion, it's about the psychology of feeling at home. Research shows that having a space where you feel safe and in control can significantly improve mental well-being. For introverts, who are often more sensitive to environmental stimuli, this sense of control is essential. Home becomes a haven where overstimulation gives way to restoration. The homebody lifestyle is often built around routines that bring stability and joy. For many of us, the simple act of tidying up, cooking a meal, or tending to a creative project is deeply fulfilling. These routines aren't about productivity in the traditional sense. They're about finding meaning in the everyday. There's something profoundly satisfying about creating a rhythm that works for you, whether it's starting the day with a cup of tea in your favorite chair, or spending an evening immersed in a book. These rituals become touchstones, moments of peace and presence that anchor your day. Home isn't just a place to relax, it's a place to grow. In the quiet of our own space, we can focus deeply on our passions, free from the distractions of the outside world. Whether it's writing, painting, crafting, or solving problems, creativity often flourishes in solitude. For introverted homebodies, this creative energy isn't just a bonus, it's a core part of why we value our time at home. It's here, in the quiet moments, that ideas take shape and projects come to life. The homebody lifestyle allows us to nurture our creative selves without interruption, giving us the space to think deeply and explore our potential. The power of presence. One of the most overlooked benefits of a home-centered life is the ability to be fully present. At home, we're not rushing from one obligation to the next or navigating the chaos of a crowded environment. Instead, we're able to slow down, breathe, and truly experience the moment. This sense of presence can have profound effects on our well-being. It helps us connect more deeply with ourselves, our surroundings, and the people we care about. Whether it's enjoying a quiet conversation with a loved one or simply savoring the silence, these moments of presence remind us of the beauty and richness of life. More than just a place. For introverted homebodies, home is not just a place, it's a reflection of who we are. It's where we find peace, pursue passions, and connect with what matters most. It's not an escape from life, but a conscious choice to live intentionally, embracing the quiet power of a life well lived. Balancing solitude with connection. While introverted homebodies thrive in solitude, it's important to acknowledge that we're not immune to the human need for connection. Relationships matter deeply to us, even if we approach them differently from those who gain energy from constant social interaction. Striking a balance between solitude and connection is essential for maintaining emotional well-being and fostering meaningful bonds with others. The depth of connection. For introverts, connection is about quality, not quantity. We're not interested in surface-level interactions or being surrounded by people just for the sake of it. Instead, we value relationships that allow for genuine conversation, mutual understanding, and a sense of trust. This often means we invest heavily in a few close relationships, rather than spreading ourselves thin across a wide social circle. It's not about avoiding people, but about focusing our energy on those who truly matter to us. For introverted homebodies, a quiet dinner with a loved one, or a meaningful conversation with a close friend, can be far more fulfilling than a bustling party or a crowded event. Connection on our own terms. The key to balancing solitude with connection is understanding what works for us as individuals. For some, this might mean scheduling one-on-one meetups with friends or family in a calm setting. For others, it could involve nurturing relationships through phone calls, letters, or virtual conversations, which can feel less overwhelming than face-to-face interactions. This flexibility allows introverted homebodies to maintain strong connections without sacrificing their need for solitude. It's not about conforming to extroverted norms of socializing, but about finding ways to connect that feel authentic and manageable. When connection feels like pressure. One of the challenges of being an introverted homebody is dealing with the societal expectation to always be out there. Whether it's pressure from well-meaning loved ones or cultural norms that prioritize extroversion, the idea that we should constantly socialize can feel overwhelming. It's okay to set boundaries and communicate your needs. Letting others know that you value your relationships but also need time to recharge can help alleviate misunderstandings. Most people will respect your boundaries when you express them clearly and kindly. The value of intentional solitude. Balancing connection with solitude doesn't mean choosing one over the other. It's about recognizing the value of both. Solitude is not isolation. For introverted homebodies, it's a space to reflect, recharge, and grow. Without it, we can't bring our best selves to our relationships or fully engage with the world around us. By embracing intentional solitude, we can approach connection with more energy and authenticity. It allows us to be present and engaged when we do spend time with others, making those moments more meaningful and fulfilling. Building a life that works for you. Ultimately, balancing solitude and connection is about living in a way that honors your personality and preferences. It's okay to need time alone, and it's okay to cherish meaningful relationships. For introverted homebodies, the key is finding harmony between these two needs, creating a life where both solitude and connection can coexist beautifully. Embracing and celebrating your authentic self. Living as an introverted homebody in a world that often idealizes extroversion requires a level of self-awareness and confidence. It means understanding who you are, honoring your needs, and refusing to apologize for the way you thrive. For many of us, this journey towards self-acceptance can be challenging, especially when others misunderstand or criticize our choices. but embracing your authentic self is one of the most liberating and empowering things you can do. Letting go of external expectations. The pressure to conform to societal norms is real, particularly for those of us who don't fit the mold of what's considered outgoing or socially active. Messages like, "Get out more or you'll miss out on life if you stay home," can feel relentless, especially when they come from well-meaning family or friends. But being an introverted homebody isn't about rejecting life. It's about engaging with it in ways that feel meaningful and true to you. Letting go of external expectations means recognizing that your preferences are valid, even if they don't align with the mainstream narrative. It's about understanding that your worth isn't measured by how many parties you attend or how visible you are in social settings. Finding pride in your lifestyle. There's incredible pride to be found in living authentically. Choosing a home-centered life isn't a limitation, it's a declaration of self-awareness. It's saying, "I know what makes me happy, and I'm not afraid to prioritize it." Your homebody lifestyle reflects thoughtfulness and intentionality. It shows that you value depth, creativity, and balance over chasing external validation. By embracing this lifestyle, you're not just living for yourself, you're setting an example for others to live authentically too. Reframing missing out. The fear of missing out is a common theme in today's world, where social media constantly reminds us of all the things we could be doing. But for introverted homebodies, this fear is often misplaced. What others see as missing out on external experiences, we see as leaning into the richness of our inner lives. Home is where we find inspiration, cultivate creativity, and experience fulfillment. It's where we engage with the activities that bring us joy, and build the routines that support our well-being. When you're doing what you love in a space that feels like an extension of yourself, you're not missing out, you're living fully. Owning your story. Being an introverted homebody is part of your story, but it doesn't define your entire identity. You're not just someone who prefers to stay home. You're a person with unique passions, talents, and perspectives. Whether you're creating art, working toward a goal, or simply finding peace in a quiet moment, your life is as vibrant and meaningful as anyone else's. Owning your story means celebrating this part of who you are, even when it's misunderstood. It means speaking confidently about your choices and rejecting the notion that your preferences are something to fix. The quiet power of authenticity. Authenticity doesn't have to be loud to make an impact. Living as an introverted homebody allows you to show up in the world with purpose and integrity, even if you're doing so from the comfort of your home. It's a quiet power, one rooted in knowing yourself and making choices that align with your values. By embracing your authentic self, you're creating a life that's not just fulfilling for you but inspiring for others. You're proving that there's no single way to live fully, and that sometimes the most meaningful journeys begin at home. A call to celebrate the introverted homebody life. The world often tells us to be more social, more outgoing, more visible. But for introverted homebodies, life isn't about chasing more. It's about savoring the depth and richness of the life we've chosen, embracing who we are and finding joy in the quieter corners of the world. Redefining success and happiness. Success isn't measured by how busy or social we are, and happiness doesn't have to come from grand gestures or constant activity. For those of us who thrive as introverted homebodies, success looks like creating a life that aligns with our values. It's finding fulfillment in the routines that ground us, the creativity that inspires us, and the relationships that truly matter. Happiness for us isn't about the external, it's about the internal. It's curling up with a favorite book, organizing a space to perfection, or simply sitting in the stillness of a peaceful moment. These small but meaningful experiences remind us that life doesn't have to be loud to be extraordinary. Challenging misconceptions, leading by example. As introverted homebodies, we have the opportunity to challenge the misconceptions about our lifestyle by living unapologetically and authentically. When we stop trying to fit into a world that prioritizes extroverted ideals, we create space for others to embrace their unique preferences too. By showing that it's possible to live fully and joyfully on our own terms, we help shift the narrative. We prove that being at home doesn't mean being isolated or stagnant. It means cultivating a life of purpose and intention free from unnecessary distractions. Inviting others to celebrate quiet joy. In a fast-paced world, the introverted homebody lifestyle is a reminder of the beauty of slowing down. It's an invitation to rediscover the joy of being present, of savoring the simple things, and of creating a life that feels whole and complete, even without constant external validation. This lifestyle isn't just for introverts or homebodies, it's a mindset anyone can adopt. It's about prioritizing what matters, setting boundaries that protect your energy and finding happiness in the spaces and routines that feel like home. Living without apology. To be an introverted homebody is to live with purpose and without apology. It's to recognize that the quiet life is just as valid as the loud one, and that your joy is just as meaningful, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's. So here's the call. Celebrate your love for home. Embrace the peace it brings you, the creativity it sparks, and the balance it provides. Build a life that reflects who you are, not who the world thinks you should be. Live intentionally, unapologetically, and authentically, knowing that your quiet power is a gift not just to yourself, but to everyone you touch. Let your home and your life be a reflection of your true self. And let the world see that in a society of more, there is incredible strength in choosing enough.